ones for like the newer iPhone, and so they don't plug into my laptop because it has
fun.
the
Yeah, that's fun.
So this is me. Take me as I am, dude.
Come as you are. Am I right?
I just did a few minutes ago. Am I right?
Oh, that's gross. You fucking guy.
Quarantine, dude. It's a quarantine chill, dude.
I know, man. This shit is crazy, huh?
Yeah. So you're still working, huh? I don't know if this is really podcast material. I don't know. I also haven't talked to you in forever, so it's kind of, but here we are, dude. So I asked you, so shoot it.
Yeah. No, I'm basically what I just started recording, so if like just to have it all. You know what I'm saying? If anything, if I feel like editing, I'll just edit it. But whatever, we'll figure it out. I'm just I'm loosey goosey. You know what I'm saying?
I'm loose, man. I couldn't be any more loose.
Exactly. So it's all good.
Looser than the geese behind me, dude.
I mean, why don't you bring them into this play, huh?
Now we're really getting out to party.
I mean, Corona.
Corona.
Speaking of
Corona,
that's what I'm drinking.
Hey. Look at you. You're fucking keeping Corona afloat, man.
Dude, I'm staying in theme.
I like it, man. I like it. No, dude, like literally Corona's stock has dropped like precipitously. It's pretty fucking funny. People are so stupid.
That is kind of dumb. Like what how
yeah, it's just like the thought of it. I can't pick up the pack at Costco anymore. It's just
as a joke, like the fucking brewery actually started injecting the actual virus into its beer, but,
exactly.
for flavor purposes.
Exactly. Come on, you want all those fucking viral antibodies in there? I'm sure that's probably a real thing. I don't know.
I don't know either, man.
Science alert.
But how is Miami? Is it crazy or is it kind of like whatever?
I'm gonna be honest with you right now. I can't. It's I don't know. Honestly, I left my house. I left my community for the first time in like 13 years yesterday.
That sounds so intense.
It's yeah, dude. I saw that podcast with Michael Osterholm on Rogan.
Yeah, did it scare the shit out of you?
I mean, yeah, pretty much. I mean, I haven't taken a shit since that day, so. I guess I kind of did.
I guess, you let loose.
But yeah, no, I went into like red alert, dude. Like, yeah, I called my parents up. They were like, "Oh, we're gonna go eat at a restaurant." I was like, "No, don't."
You're like fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like the Terminator, just like, I've come back to save your kind.
Yeah, exactly. I shut it down. I was like, I texted my mom. I was like, "What do we need from Publix?" And she was like, "Oh, well, I don't really know. I'd have to think about it." I was like, "What do we need?"
Tell me. God, man. The first day that we went out, there was nothing. There's no, weirdly enough, no chicken and no toilet paper.
Yeah. The toilet paper one was a big one that like everyone's been talking about. I don't really understand that. I was trying to wrap my head around like the psychology of that, and like there were some like bullshit articles like trying to like explain it, but it all just kind of came back to like sort of like just fear people have. But that applies to all supplies, so that's not really toilet paper specific. I feel like it's just like I don't know what compels someone to buy toilet paper in excess like that. Like I just don't get it. I don't know if it's just, maybe it's like I was thinking about it. I've had too much time to think about bullshit, so I was thinking about it and I was like, maybe it's just that like toilet paper just automatically comes in such large quantities, like the packages take up so much shelf space that there really aren't that many packages of toilet paper on the shelf, right?
Yeah.
So like I feel like it's less like a shortage in that people are buying, like they're buying slightly more, but it's not as if like I don't know, whatever.
I don't know either. To be honest, like it doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I would the first thing I would get is fucking food, obviously, like
exactly.
Something perishables, right? No, is that the opposite?
Non-perishables.
All right, perishables. I would be pretty mad.
That's gonna last me 3 hours tops. That's what I need right now.
Hey, I'm getting mad in a few hours.
Yeah.
Some smells in my in my cabinets.
Probably all those perishables I bought earlier. Yeah. What was I gonna say? Yeah, no. So yeah, right. Everything. Yeah, when I went that first, I'm calling it the first day. It was like my first day. So this was probably like 2 weeks ago now. That's when I was like, "Fuck it, I'm shutting it down." Um, and yeah, but I went to Publix that day, and yeah, no meat, like no beef, no chicken, nothing. Like there was just like chicken necks, like which I didn't even know.
Necks?
I didn't realize that was a thing. I was like, wait, what the fuck?
Necks?
Yeah, chicken necks. Yeah,
Is that for voodoo? Is that what that's
I don't
for?
know, dude. I was like, are we in Wuhan right now? What the fuck is going on here?
Are they trying to start another strain here to combat the original strain?
Is this Publix wet market edition? What is happening right now? Is that a what is it? What is pangolin? What those creatures? I don't know what the fuck they're called.
Pangolin? What is that? Is that like a fucking person from the 1940s, bro? Pangolin?
That's what they used to call the people who got the Spanish flu. Pangolins.
Are you serious?
No. That's not true at all. No. No, but there's some animal that sounds like that I know that's like one of the things that they have at a wet market, but I don't even know what it is.
Oh, it's an animal. Okay.
It's an animal. Yeah, it's an animal.
You're an animal. Sorry.
I mean,
I've been.
But yeah, it was weird. It was weird. It's been weird.
Yeah.
It's all very it's really strange. I don't think anyone thought this was possible, like in our society today, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, like I think if you had told people this, like maybe even in like October of last year, they would have been like, "Get the fuck out of here," you know.
Yeah. It's crazy. I feel like everybody had such high hopes for this year, and then this happens and it shuts everything down. I mean, the crazy part is that House of I was planning on taking a hiatus anyway to record new music and whatnot. So like weirdly enough, we kind of like both things coincided. Obviously, I would rather that not be the case because I'd still be going to shows and shit. But
you guys created the virus in a lab. That's what you're trying to tell them.
That's what I created the virus to slow everyone else down and so that we could catch up musically.
You're the preeminent Tampa band now.
We thought we could control it in Tampa, but it's too strong.
That's an odd coincidence there. Yeah, it's funny how like they try to like people were saying shit about like Bill Gates, like like just like those conspiracy type people like accusing Bill Gates of like having some sort of involvement because he sort of predicted this like years ago. But I think the reality is that a lot of people in the scientific community like saw something like this coming, not this exactly at this time, but
well, if you break it down to like biology, I mean, this is gonna happen. It's always gonna happen.
Exactly, right. Yeah.
It's just like evolution. That's just like how things work. Viruses will get either they'll become resistant to like the stuff that we have now, or new ones will come about from weird shit that people are doing. I mean, it's just how shit works, man. Unfortunately.
So is it true? I mean, I don't know if you know this, but I'll throw this at you.
Throw it and stick it in my ass.
Hey.
Hey. Shout out to Tuesdays with Stories.
Tuesdays. Where are you at?
Tuesdays. What's up?
But yeah, I don't know if it's true or not that Trump actually like eliminated the sort of pandemic defense area of the government. Like I heard something about like, oh, he didn't really eliminate it. He kind of like was kind of put into another area or some shit like that. I mean, I haven't looked into it if I'm being honest, but yeah, I mean, if that's true, it's incredibly unfortunate. I don't know, whatever. I don't want to get political or anything.
Well, I mean, the thing is too, it's like, even if, and not to say, because obviously if he did do that, I think that's shitty, But it's like even if we had that in place, could we have really done much? I don't know. I have no idea. I would know. I have no idea. It's like,
oh no, yeah, exactly. I think you still you would find yourself, I'm sure, in the same predicament, or at least to start, and then I guess maybe there's just a certain additional level of preparedness that you would have, I would imagine.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, it does still come down to like ultimately, as far as limiting this, just like actions taken, right, to stop spread and all that shit. And yeah, but it's crazy. It's weird, man. I mean, like honestly, I don't like the crazy thing is that no one knows how long this shit's gonna last. Yeah. I've been working remotely for the last 2 weeks, which in a vacuum I don't mind, right? Like I'm used to it and I love it. Some people like freak out when that whole thing kind of comes to pass. But I'm used to it. The thing that sucks is just I can't go anywhere once the day's over. So it's just, it's fucking weird. Where are you guys on shelter in place? The whole state's on shelter in place, right?
Does that mean that we can't go out?
Yeah, so like right now, like for instance, like I was just texting Jack, and I was like, oh yeah, you want to hang out later? And she was like, oh yeah, but remember, there's a curfew. Like there's a 10 p.m. curfew. So
shit.
So that's one thing, and then the shelter in place, I believe, is just like only essential. Like the reasons you can be out are like if you're going to like get groceries or like if you're an essential worker, these sorts of things. So I don't know. But it's pretty wild, man.
I'm sure it is here too, honestly. Like that the thing is too is I'm not going out to figure that out either. You know what I mean?
You're not going out to figure
I'm not going out to figure out whether or not a cop is gonna stop me and be like, get the fuck back in your house.
You're not seeking the information, you're saying, or you're not leaving your house?
I'm not leaving my house at night.
Oh, okay, got you.
Yeah,
you're not testing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's just see.
Yeah, I'm not trying to form any other experiments.
Yeah, see what happens if I tickle this cop's asshole for a second.
Well, shit. And whatever, you can berate me as much as you want, but I was playing basketball 2 days ago, and they took away the rims.
Took away the rims?
Yeah, they took away their fucking rims.
Someone stole the rims.
No. The I guess the county or police or whoever, they came and they actually removed the rims from the fucking basketball court.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like that.
Couldn't resist the temptation.
Well, I mean,
the call of the basket.
Ball's life.
Come on.
I mean,
and you're pro-life, right?
I don't know. I don't know. That's a tricky question.
I don't want to get political again. But
no, it's not even that.
I feel like that's the new like no offense. Like people say like I don't want to get political.
Pro-life?
It's something. No. I'm saying like I don't want to get political is like the new no offense because like people like say I don't want to get political and then they get political.
Yeah.
Just no offense, and I'm gonna offend you right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like what's the other one like? I just want to be honest.
Yeah.
Just trying to be honest with you.
I say that too much, honestly. There you go. See, I just did it.
What?
I said honestly.
Oh, I say I'm not gonna lie. Like that was literally what I got criticized for on the Mark Norman podcast, like a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah, people were just like, I'm not gonna lie. Those were the main ones. But I'm not gonna lie, it was a big one.
That's wild.
I know, because people don't understand, bro. Like Miami fucking lingo. You know what I mean? It's like.
I don't even know if that one's specifically Miami. I feel like.
Hey, fuck you.
You ain't shit, bro. And set.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I mean, fuck it, dude. What, like, so a bunch of like Tuesdays watch that shit, or like what, like?
Yeah, bro, that shit's.
It was like your base commenting on it, just fucking with you.
My base. I wish. No, I mean it's weird though because it is starting to gain. We are starting to get more followers, which thank you guys because they'll be watching this. This is obviously going to be one of the podcasts, but so it's at 2,100 views right now.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
All right.
Which is definitely not. We only have 159 subscribers, so yeah.
Exactly. Someone outside that subscriber base is watching it.
Yeah, but yeah, it was funny. We actually mentioned this on the previous podcast that I did with Ellie, and someone weirdly said that I was taking advantage of Mark by doing a podcast because on previous podcasts, I guess on like Tuesdays with Stories, like Mark was saying how he has to do every podcast that people ask him for, and like he feels bad or whatever. And actually, I haven't heard him say that. I've heard him say that he'll do any pod
Yeah.
because who am I? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
first of all, fuck that. Like, because I've literally heard him say, actually, like that he enjoyed doing your pod specifically.
Yeah.
Like, and he talked about it, and he said, like, you know, that you guys were really nice and all that stuff. So, like, what the hell? And obviously, he's not obligated. So, what the fuck?
I know. It's like I don't know. It was fucking. That was
He
such a
knows,
weird.
right? Like, he knows, like, he's doing it because he feels like it, you know? Like, no one's fucking forcing him. He could easily say no or not.
I kind of did force him though.
I mean, right.
I threatened his life. I mean,
He did. What I heard, and I didn't want to get into this territory. I really didn't. But what I heard was that you blocked the door of his hotel room and you forced him to watch you jerk off. I don't know. That's just what I heard. Like, I don't want to start rumors. I'm just saying that's what I heard.
Well, let's just put it this way. I can neither confirm or deny. So we'll just leave it to the future for that one.
Let the people decide. You know.
I was about to say, thank God for this virus. I'm kidding. Fuck. Yeah. That's the thing. That's the weird thing too. Is like on this podcast, like I feel weird, saying kind of outlandish shit because it's a music podcast, and I understand that I don't know, but I think the majority, well, maybe not anymore because I'm sure a lot of people that subscribed are now, comedy fans, I would imagine. So maybe I can get away with more of it, but I don't know how the people in my community feel about those kind of jokes,
I don't know.
Tough.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we've talked about it a little bit before about like how like musicians tend to be a little bit hyper liberal. Not we're like freaking, red staters or anything like that, but it's I think it can be a little extreme, a little hypersensitive. But I say fuck it,
Well, the thing is that I can't say fuck it because I want to build this bad boy, you know what I mean? I want to build this puppy. That's true. And I don't want to deter like any musicians from coming on because they hear this and they're like, you're a piece of shit, which I am. Don't get me wrong, they'd be right, but
I'm just saying, I mean, do you want a puppy that is real, or do you want a fucking bitch ass puppy that's scared to say the truth?
Is the bitch ass puppy cute as fuck?
I don't know. You tell me. It's your puppy. I don't even know what the fuck we're talking about.
I don't even have a dog, so
we just dove too deep into this metaphor.
That's what happened, dude.
It's like, well, how was the puppy bred? I don't know.
I don't know.
How was he raised?
Where does it come from?
Nature versus nurture, right?
Should I go to a pound or should I, what should I do here? I don't even know. I don't even know the terms for it, to be honest.
There's no way of knowing.
Are you a dog? What am I
just go into character. I just completely become a dog for the rest of the podcast. It becomes fucking Monday morning podcast. It's just you and I'm just like fucking sitting here.
I would literally hang up on you right now.
Do it. Do it.
Do it. All right, but I actually wanted to talk some music here.
Oh yeah, you got some points. You got some points?
I kind of wanted to discuss further. I mean, I would imagine some of these listeners probably know of Tame Impala, so I kind of wanted to get a little bit into that recent album. Have you listened to it anymore, or is it still kind of the couple that you've heard?
I have listened to it. I haven't probably listened to it as much as I would like, or as much as I have listened to the other Tame Impala albums. But I have listened to it a good amount. And if I'm being honest, like we had a conversation about this, and I don't think it's bad. I want to start by saying that.
God damn, dude.
But or at least that's where I was coming from before. I think it's pretty good. Right, like I still think it's better than most, bands with big followings out there. you know? And I think that there were some things that kind of irked me, and some of them still irk me. Like, I'm sorry, and this be controversial. I'm a huge Tame Impala fan, huge advocate of Kevin Parker and his work, but One More Year is trash. Okay. And I don't care who knows it, dude. And I'll say that, I would say that to his face.
Hey, how about this? Bad timing. Am I right?
Yeah, right. Literally one more year. Oh. It was actually the first title was One Last Year. But he thought it was sensitive.
Imagine like in parentheses COVID-19.
Yeah, he didn't want to be ashamed of his puppy. It was actually a double album, and that was track 19 at first, but he was like, no, they'll know. So
there's too much in there.
yeah, look into it.
Look into Eddie Etchy Bravo.
Shouts out to TVs.
No, man. See, like the weird thing is, I feel like that statement of it's still better than a lot of new music coming out, which, yeah, you can say that's true for sure. But in the standard of what they have been doing, like what he's done, in his past albums, it's just, you kind of, like, we've had the discussion that we've had is that I'm worried that he's going into a direction where he kind of stays stale with the pop thing, or he just turns into like a stadium act or something.
Right. Yeah.
And, it scares me because I've mentioned this band so many times on this podcast, but Radiohead to me always puts out something different, something unique, something that sounds good. Obviously, I'm biased or whatever, but I don't know. I don't even think I'm that biased, though, because if Radiohead did put out trash, I feel like I would know. It's like I would be like, that's trash, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think also, like, I think if I can, knowing you, and if I could sort of speculate on your perspective, I think almost more worrisome to you as far as their output is, like, not that it's trash alone or not as great as other stuff, but the manner in which it's trash. So, like, One More Year, it's a clear attempt to go for like some sort of arena sort of like sound. There's not really a lot to sink your teeth into as far as like substance melodically or harmonically or anything. It's just like he literally is like doing like a, hey, one more year, one more, like if it's a live show kind of a thing. And yeah, so I think, because the thing is, like, Radiohead, in my opinion anyway, and you probably fall in a slightly different camp on this, but like they have released things that are underwhelming, but it's never been like it's never been like a money grab. It's been kind of like they went for it and it didn't work out. It's kind of like an honest attempt at making something good and unique that maybe was underwhelming. What I'm talking about here is probably like King of Limbs.
Okay.
So King of Limbs, like, I don't think it's bad. I want to be clear. But they have, I guess what I'm saying is, like, they have missed a little bit, I guess that's like also relative to the rest of their catalog too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that's an interesting point there as far as just like the style, right? Because I think, am I right in saying that you fear like there's like a commercial sort of goal there with Tame Impala that you maybe don't see with like a Radiohead, let's say?
Yeah, I would say that pretty much exactly. The thing is, I always use Coldplay as this comparison,
right?
Where they were making tons of money already before they, in my opinion, went trash. Went more commercial sounding or whatever.
Yeah.
So to me, the only thing that would make sense, I guess, is that they wanted to release music that was maybe more modern. And in that sense, the modern pop sound was like that electronic kind of poppy sound.
Right.
So hold on 1 second. I'll be right back. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, I ordered food and Ellie was in the shower. But
it's all good, man.
But yeah, so basically, damn, what was I saying? Okay, so yeah, so Coldplay, they fucking. Oh, okay, so sorry, I got lost there. So yeah, so I feel like this transition here with that kind of stuff, I don't necessarily know if it's like a cash grab, because I'm sure they're doing fine monetarily. It could be they're really into that music and it happens to be garbage in our opinion.
Sure.
It's I don't know, man. It's a weird thing. It's like I guess my fear is like I hope that they're not I'm like I almost wish like damn, I hope that their taste in music doesn't turn into that. It turns into something that's completely different.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Because
Okay.
I feel like Radiohead pulls from weird sources.
Right.
And that's obviously like I'm assuming it's an assumption.
No, that's true. That's true. I mean, if you ever like see anything where like they put like a playlist together or something like that, it's like half the artists are like totally unknown, which is cool. You know, like I don't have any issue with that. I also think that they enjoy being a bit obscure
Yeah.
in their tastes and stuff like that, and yeah, but that's I guess that's an optimistic way of looking at it, right? As far as like not assuming that you know they're just doing something that they don't particularly care for, or let's be honest, that he's doing something that he doesn't particularly care for, and in the interest of you know commercial gain or additional popularity or whatever the case is, and that could be true, and I think that that's true of like Coldplay, right? Like you're saying, like I don't think, but the thing is, okay, so I'm going a little all over the place, but I think the thing that you run into also is like once you get like when you're talking about fame as well, I think the lines between taste and like sort of goals for the band, I think it gets a little bit blurred, right? Because I think you get a taste of like relevance, and then you're like, damn, but I don't want to lose this, right?
Yeah.
So you're trying to like stay relevant. Maybe in the case of a Coldplay, I don't know, right? Like there's no really real way for us to know unless we were to, like to have a candid conversation with them as far as like you know taste and stuff like that and what they're going for. Like it could be true that they love the shit that they're putting out, you know, or it could be some sort of like you know mix of like staying relevant and sort of you know liking that direction to a degree. You know, I don't know. It's hard to say. You know, but like
Yeah.
it's like one of the things that like I remember reading like a quote from Chris Martin, and I don't even remember when this was, but I remember him saying like you know like talking about loving Radiohead's music, and saying like the difference between like him and I like Tom that is that like he's like bound to like the idea of a catchy of like a big chorus, and he has to have it. It has to be there.
Mhm.
It's always going to be there. Whereas you know Radiohead doesn't have that, right? Like they have obviously like plenty of songs with choruses and stuff like that, but if they decide that they want to have a song that's more of just like a gradual build and there's no real clear chorus or hook or anything like that, like so be it. Like who gives a fuck? Is kind of their approach, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that that's true. Like if you look at Radiohead's like catalog, there are plenty of songs that don't really have choruses per se, you know. Weird Fishes doesn't have a chorus. Um, Nude. I'm literally just going down in rainbows right now, but like Nude like has a clear B section. I don't know if you would call it a chorus. Um, you know, like so. I guess there's just there's a philosophical difference at times, I guess, in approaches to music. But to bring it back to Tame Impala, I don't know. But the other thing I'm going to say is before I get to dwell too much in the negative, I think that the album, the more that I listened to it, I did appreciate more aspects of it. You know, like I came around a little bit more to other songs that are on there. There are still songs that kind of fall into that sort of one more year category to me, where it's just kind of like it's a little too commercial for my taste, and there just isn't the depth musically that there was on like a Lonerism or Occurrence.
Mhm.
So like, Is It True is like another one where I just feel like it's just a little too I don't know. It just doesn't resonate with me. Like the complexity and the of the arrangements and the quality of the melodies on those two previous albums specifically. Although Inner Speaker is great as well, I think are just yeah. I think they're just superior. But I mean I don't know. You know, I do at least recognize that he has gone a different direction. I think that there, you know, to his credit, there are tons of songs on the album where that sort of like 70s sort of like radio smoothness kind of works to his advantage. Like he
Hmm.
pulls it off and he does it really well. With those like electric pianos and stuff like that. Like, and it sounds really good. Like on what's the song called? It might be time. Is it called?
Yeah.
Maybe
Hmm.
like I think it works really well. I like I think the single is really good. What's Lost in Yesterday? I think that song's great. That's a really strong song. There's good melodies on there. But I think sometimes the strength of the songs isn't there. But like I said, overall, I think it's stronger than a lot of the stuff you're seeing right now. But it is a decline for me from like currents and lonerism and stuff like that. I'm rambling here, so let me turn it over to you for your perspective on that.
No, no, I think that's a inept fucking review of that, because honestly, it's hard for me because I'm such a like huge fan, and I feel that their first three albums, right? Is it three? Inner Speaker, Lonerism, and Currents. Like there aren't any songs on those albums that I don't like.
Right.
Like almost every single song. I think the only song I didn't like on Inner Speaker was Desire Be, Desire Go. I just feel
Oh,
like that
easy.
song is okay to me.
Song's great. I love that song.
It's all right. But everything else I like a lot.
I will say the B section of that song is not particularly thrilling.
Hmm.
The whole everyday, what's it for thing,
Yeah.
just kind of doesn't really do it. But the verse is great. Love it. But
It's all right.
ba 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 ba
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
It's okay. But yeah, no, it just scares me because you hate to lose artists. I feel like I've lost Modest Mouse. I feel like I've lost the Pixies.
I love the way that you frame it. The way
What?
that you say it, it just sounds like it feels like I'm at the fucking What a Wonderful World part of the Oscar ceremony, like where they fucking like they roll the film of like all the people who died that year, and then someone sings fucking Louis Armstrong. Yeah, I mean, I guess I get what you're saying though, but like I do feel like it's a little like we've talked about this too, obviously, but like I feel like it's also wrong to like write people off too, right? Especially like I know for a fact that like you love the Pixies, like hardcore.
Yes.
So for you
Yes.
to say like I lost them, like it's like damn, dude, like don't say that. And it's so funny, like just like being a music fan, it's just like it's like such a tragedy. It's like like it
Yeah.
really it feels like if they died, basically. Like.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. I
But
mean, I
didn't you
will
say that you
say,
listened to like some of that newer album and you actually liked it, their newest one?
yeah. My issue
What-
with their new stuff is always the recording, the quality of it. It's too polished. Like what I enjoyed about their previous albums was that it had such a unique sound to it, and
Okay.
then they're now going into this almost generic sound where you can't even tell that it's them almost. I mean, you can tell because of maybe the parts per se, maybe,
Right.
but I liked the fact that you could tell it was a Pixie recording because of the way it was mixed and recorded, and it didn't sound super polished.
See, so that's an interesting one. So if we're gonna get like really like sort of like inside baseball, as they say, like on music right now, like really like musician centric, it's interesting to me that you would say that the production and mixing and all that stuff dictates the overall sound to the point that it drowns out their voice from a songwriting, arrangement, performance perspective.
Hmm.
Because I feel like, and granted, like you're a much bigger Pixies fan than I am, but I don't feel like it's totally lost either. Like I feel like you still know like it's fucking Frank Black singing,
Yeah.
like no fucking Santiago's on the guitar out there,
Yeah.
like like it's not totally unrecognizable, and so I don't know. I guess I'm less involved, like my knowledge of like production and mixing and stuff like that. That's not really my area. It's not really my strong suit. So I guess I'd lean more to the songwriting sort of like creative, side of things as far as just like the ideas and the notes and the compositional part of it. So, so I guess it also comes from me like just liking to think that some things kind of cut through.
Yeah.
Like if it's good kind of a thing. Like not obviously like I know that the other part of it needs to be there, but I'd like to think that there's more value in that side of it, I guess is what I'm saying. But no, I mean, that's a fair point, though. It's a fair point. So I think like one of the things you said is that like it's like more compressed overall, like the recording, like very.
Yeah, it just doesn't. So if I were to give Radiohead as an example, it would be like the drums sounding like generic drums that you hear in any alternative rock station, generic guitar tones, generic effects on the vocals.
Right.
You know, it like, so for example, maybe it wouldn't
turn off.
Maybe it wouldn't turn me off to the songwriting. You know, for example, if I saw them live, I'd say, oh, those are good songs because they're being performed live, and I can hear them in that organic setting.
Yeah, for
but
that's big.
Exactly, but yeah, definitely. I mean, it's weird. I don't know. I actually spoke to someone recently that is not a musician, and he actually brought this up himself. He said that he doesn't like super polished sounding music, and I thought that was really cool. I was like, wow, really?
Yeah.
Because most people don't. Most people like that. Most people like the generic sounding, drums and bass. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I suppose so. Like, right. Like, if you're gonna literally break it out into percentages of like the population in mass, like yeah, like most people would like that. But I think people who kind of would listen to, say, like a Pixies record or like whatever Radiohead, like this sort of stuff, maybe less Radiohead because Radiohead has a bigger base overall. But I think within those people, like you'll find people who like have that sort of specific of a taste, and they want a little bit of like imperfection on the recordings and in the performances and things like that. And like, so to put it to another one of like my personal favorite bands, right? Like the Strokes, right? So like one of the things that that they said, I don't remember what album it was before. I think it may have been before Come Down Machine or Post Angles or something like that, or I don't know, maybe it was after both of them. I don't even remember. But I think one of the things that they said that they like didn't care for on First Impressions of Earth, their third album, for people listening. But one of the things that they didn't care for, or that Julian said he didn't care for, was that he felt like it lacked the quote unquote scruffy charm of the previous records, right? So where it sounds a little bit more tinny, it's not quite as full, like these sorts of things that you found on the third album, right? Where it was a little bit more clear, like the vocals were much louder, like it was mixed and produced a lot more traditionally, as opposed to the first couple albums, which some people would say sound like shit. Honestly, like it's a little bit more on the lo-fi side.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Go
ahead. Sorry.
No. But no, I was just gonna say like that's another thing to sort of consider there. But I think that him saying that, I mean, I think that's number one, a recognition on his part, just like artistically what sort of like he would like to, some things about what they've done that they would like to keep, I guess. But also I think that was a recognition of like maybe why that album didn't do as well and people didn't kind of latch onto it as much. Because I think that's a recognition of the fan base actually appreciating that imperfection and that scruffiness, for lack of a better term, on those previous records. Which
is that right though? That album didn't do as well as the first two?
Well, okay. So that's a good question. Actually, it may have commercially performed better, and I'm not sure, but I think overall, so like critically and like from fans, I don't know that it's quite as highly regarded as like Is This Theater Room on Fire. So yeah. And granted, there were a lot of other factors at play, like when they made that album and then they went away for like a number of years. Like there was substance abuse issues abound.
Yeah.
And
cocaine.
Got a little crazy.
It got a little light.
Got a little loose out there. But it's all good.
See, I find that funny because the first two albums, in my opinion, are pretty similar, and I do like them a lot. Don't get me wrong; they're one of my faves. the actual like songwriting I feel like is pretty similar. I guess like you can even say the parts themselves are almost pretty. They're kind of similar. And then that third album was like they went into a different world there, and it's also darker as well. You
Right.
know?
That's true. Yeah, there is more darkness on it. But I suppose the sort of like clean thing and commercial thing comes less from the songwriting and I guess kind of more to your point from the sound, right? So it's like it's more clear. Um, things are less obscured. Like Julian doesn't have like the filters on his voice and stuff like that. Like it's just kind of like it's kind of laid out to bare. It's kind of more traditional sort of rock that you might potentially in the year 2006 hear on the radio. Obviously, we know that you wouldn't hear that on the radio today, but yeah. And it's kind of weird. It's weird even to think that like that was that long ago. Although I guess I wasn't really listening to it at the time because I was 13, so it would have been a little bit later. But yeah.
Yeah, the single was Heart in a Cage, right?
The first single,
You only live once.
I think the first single was Juicebox actually, and people were kind of freaked out.
That's right,
which I think in retrospect is a pretty good move, is a pretty G move to kind of release Juicebox as the first single. And I think You Only Live Once followed it, and I know Heart in a Cage was also a single. So, because obviously You Only Live Once would be the logical one, right? Like it's like a major key, like it's clear hooks, like it's all very upbeat, But to release Juicebox as the first single, which is a pretty big departure for them, I guess. It's significantly heavier.
Yeah.
I think that's cool. Or it was cool.
So this is interesting to me because I think when I started listening to them, I kind of got their discography from, I believe, First Impressions to back when I first started listening to them.
Oh, okay.
So I heard all that material kind of at the same time.
Right. Yeah.
So for me, I just heard like a combination of dope music, and I didn't see it from the perspective of a fan that listened to those first two albums and then went into that third, and then were blown away. But it would have been dope because I would have been very, very happy with that material.
Yeah, exactly right. Because this goes back to like kind of like you appreciate the artistic leaps, and particularly when it doesn't adhere to like anything that could be construed as an appeal for commercial gain.
Yeah.
When it seems genuine as far as like we just thought this sounded dope, kind of a thing.
Yeah, which they definitely hit that shit on the head, man. That album is my favorite still. So
yeah, no, I know. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because I think that's one of the things that I think is cool to kind of consider as well, as far as like. So I know you were talking about like so to go back to like a Radiohead and like a Tame Impala, let's say. So I think it's an interesting dynamic as far as like Tame Impala, like we've gotten live. Right, like we have gotten it as fans in real time for the most part. You especially, because I think you were listening to them in like 2009 or some shit probably. Mm-hmm. I started listening to them at Lonerism, so like since then it's been real time. But prior to that, not so much. But that changes the perception, I think, right? Because like the vast majority of Radiohead's catalog you absorbed kind of at once.
Yes, right? Yeah, it's from In Rainbows.
Exactly. So really, like you've gotten 2 albums from them, like in real time, like they're releasing them.
Yeah, King of Limbs. That's weird. Yeah, that's a weird one.
So like you haven't like ridden like the sort of like what the fuck, like the sort of like album to album changes that you would if you were to sort of like get them in real time. So for like Radiohead, OK Computer like was like their commercial peak, I believe.
Yes.
And so then Kid A is like famously like they just mind fucked everyone. Everyone's like, what the fuck is going on? It was still a #1 album because everyone was so fucking excited after OK Computer. But the reviews came in and initially they were very unfavorable. Like they were like, what the fuck is this? Like there's no guitars, there's no hooks. Granted, there are guitars, but they're just not as prominent. Whatever, side note. But yeah, like it was like, so that was like their opportunity. Like that was like OK Computer was like their currents, right?
Okay.
And then they could have released the Slow Rush after, But instead of releasing the slow rush, they released whatever the fuck. They took a left.
Yes, I agree with that completely.
They sort of denied themselves their natural trajectory as a band and on that path, right? So that's an interesting thing to know. Like, I'm not saying that everyone should follow that or anything like that, because, you know, whatever, who cares? It doesn't necessarily make you better for doing that, but that's a choice that they made, as opposed to as opposed to Tame Impala, which they made a turn into a more commercial territory after their most popular album.
I wish they would have done that, though. That would have been so sick.
Yeah.
If Tame Impala just did something completely different, that would have been super tight.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. But I think, well, I don't think either of us expected them to, like, given, like, you know, what was kind of coming out and just kind of the circles Kevin Parker's been involved in the sort of period between Currents and this album. Like, he's been doing a lot of pop shit. He's been producing for a lot of, like, more popular artists, kind of doing some songwriting for them, like your Travis Scotts, your Lady Gagas, your, like, these sorts of people. So he's been your Mark Ronson, this sort of stuff. So he's been involved in a more sort of, like, pop commercial space. So it makes sense. And yeah, I don't know. I wonder if, you know, I think it's what he digs, honestly. Like, I'll give him that credit. Like, I think he has the integrity to at least release, like, what he really cares about. But yeah, and sort of in that period, like, he got a lot of, like, recognition from, like, some cool people, you know, like, or people who would be perceived as cool, like, sort of like in, like, the hip hop space and stuff like that. And, like, you're sort of like I said, the Travis Scott, like, I think he was brought in to, like, work on, like, one of the Kanye albums or something like that. I don't know if they ended up using what he contributed and stuff like that, but he kind of got in that scene. And I wonder if, like, getting involved in that, like, you kind of, like, you don't want to, like,
lose it,
not be one of the cool kids anymore, so to speak. I don't think so. I don't think that's what it's about, but I think that's just a thought that kind of.
But think about this, though. Like, everyone kind of considers Tom York to be the coolest guy, you know, and because mainly the fact that he departed from going more commercial, he went into something completely different and was still successful.
Right. It's the lack of access.
Yeah.
You know, so, like, Kanye, like, famously, like, wanted to collaborate with Radiohead, and it was like Tom was like, no.
Good for them.
Like, actually, even, like, Paul McCartney wanted to write a song with him, and he was like, nah.
With Tom York?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, exactly. But I think, and I'm going, like, this is me, you know, going back into my music nerd, like, following, like, articles and shit like that. But, like, I think he said something about just, like, not feeling, like, confident in, like, his, like, piano abilities or some shit like that, or some I don't remember. Honestly, I don't even want to quote him on it, but it was some shit like that, and it could have just been, like, a nice way of saying no, you know, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, like, that's
why do you really think? What would you contemplate his real reasoning was?
That's a good question. I don't know. I would say probably, it's hard to say, right? Because we know, like, Paul made an album, like, with Nigel, right? That Nigel produced, that I'm a fan of. It's a later stage album. You know, he's already older. It's certainly not, you know, prominently on anyone's radar, but I thought it was dope music. So there's, like, a little bit of an in there. There was a little bit of, who knows? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how much of a fan Tom is personally of Paul. You know, maybe he was, like, you know, a John guy or some shit like that. Like, I have no idea. Because obviously, like, they're clear. I know that they're fans of the Beatles. And Karma Police takes a chord progression from Sexy Sadie. We know this, right? But yeah, I don't know. Like, from my, like, if I were to try to, like, empathize, like, obviously, like, I have nowhere near anywhere, like, close to the kind of cachet or, like, you know, ability of either of those people. But, like, if like a hero were to ask me to collaborate with them, like, I would be pretty scared. I'm not gonna lie. Like
Maybe that's what it was.
It could have been. It could have been. I mean, imagine a Beatle says like, "Hey, let's write a song together." Imagine like so. Okay, so I should frame this like for me, like yes, Paul McCartney and John Lennon are like the best songwriters ever. So if one of the best songwriters ever says, "Hey, let's write a song together," I'd be like, "Hey, man, I don't know, like, I don't really feel comfortable." Like,
hey, man, have you ever heard my music? It's trash.
yeah, dude. You heard my melodies? I don't even know what fucking notes are, dude. So that could have played a factor in it. Who the hell knows? But yeah. Like, how would you feel, right? Like, if Tom York was like, "Hey, bro, let's write a fucking song together. Let's collab, man."
I don't know. That would be crazy. I think I would do it just because it would give me insight to how he writes, and that would just be cool to see. But at the same time, it might actually take away some of the magic of the music. Right. I saw how the sausage was made. You know,
that's
I don't know.
Interesting perspective. See, I would like my thing would be like my first impulse is like no, right? Because I'm definitely not going to be able to come up with anything good in the period of time that we're there, and I'm just going to feel like shit, and I'm going to be ashamed, and the person who I idolize is going to fucking think I'm dog shit, right? That would be my first impulse. My second impulse would be fuck it, like this is life, and you know, you don't want to look back and say that you declined the chance to write a song with whoever, even if it goes poorly, right? So, but that's interesting that you say like you wouldn't really want to see how the sausage is made because then like you feel like it would interfere with your ability to enjoy their music in the future. You're saying?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, going back to kind of your reasons, your two reasons, I would say though that the first reason of them maybe thinking that you're a bad songwriter, I feel like if they're approaching you to write a song with them, it's because they like the way you write music.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So, well, yeah, but that right. That's true. But I also just assume that I'm shit, right off the bat. Like that's always gonna be my base, right? So
yeah.
So anything beyond that, and I'm not saying that's good or healthy in any way because it's neither. But but that's my base, and I would yeah exactly. So that would for sure be my first impulse, but right. But I think I would ultimately land on like let's just do it, and who gives a fuck? Because while that might be my impulse, like you know, that's not really a sustainable or healthy way to actually live your life. You know, like you have to like just kind of recognize that sort of voice and just be like, okay, well, fuck it, like we're out here. You know?
Yeah.
And if it goes badly, you know what? Like you have to be willing to say, you know what? Paul McCartney hates me. He can go fuck himself. You know? Like,
yeah.
And that's
he wouldn't, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm just saying maybe he does, you know. And you know what? And honestly, I want to take this moment to speak directly to Paul McCartney. You know what? If you have a problem with me, dude, it's fine. It's fine. I don't fucking like you either. Okay? So here we are.
You know, a lot of people are probably gonna be like, "This guy looks like Paul McCartney."
I just hear your dad in the back. Paul.
Yeah,
he always says it in that exact voice too. It's so
racist.
Great.
I know it's super racist. I understand.
He was like, "Paul, build the wall." Paul.
Oh no, Paul Wall? Rapper.
Paul Walker? Huh?
Dead.
Why do you think they killed him, man? It doesn't even make it. It just sounds like a conspiracy, but it doesn't actually make any sense.
He actually never drove a car in his life.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't have a driver's license.
So I guess like to wrap this up.
The reason though, like, I think he showed up to a number of different like driving exams, but what I heard was that they said that he was, first of all, they said he was too fast, and secondly, they said he was too furious also. So.
You're an idiot, dude.
I don't know.
You're a fucking idiot. I legit thought you were gonna spit some fucking fire facts right there. And you just come out with fucking
just dribble. Absolute
Dribble.
absolute dribble.
The dribble. What is it? What is it? The fucking. I don't remember what he says.
The ramblings of a
There
man.
it is. The ramblings of a madman. That's hilarious. So I kind of wanted to end on the fucking weirdness of having everything closed down in terms of music and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, for example, we have been trying to start a music project for a little bit now, and that's probably going to have to be put on hold for a minute. But that aspect is like crazy because there's a ton of people basically not having any money. Yeah, pour that bad boy, dude. Pour that bad boy. That's what everyone should be doing. Just getting drunk.
As a matter of fact, let me do that for you.
Oh, Whiskey Ginger! What's up? That's sick, bro.
Fitting, right? I'm literally pouring whiskey.
That's tight, bro.
All right.
Fucking
Carry on.
Red Rocket over there. But yeah, man, it's crazy. It's a weird thing because I was definitely planning on supporting the local acts that are over here and whatnot, and it's just I feel bad for the venues. I mean, I don't even know. I'm assuming that they're going to be taking out loans or whatever. I just don't know what they're going to do. You know?
Yeah.
It's a weird one.
It's really tough. It's really tough right now, and not to be cynical or pessimistic or doom and gloom, but the reality is, I think there is a portion of them that, and I obviously speak with very little knowledge of the, details of the Tampa market or St. Petersburg market specifically, but there's going to be a percentage of small businesses in general, especially ones dependent on this sort of stuff, that are not going to make it through this. Really. Yeah. And that's pretty sad, man. It's a sad thing. It's sad on that level, like everyone who works at these businesses, obviously, but just to see the sort of institutions go, it's shitty that we can't congregate in those spaces. And you'd like to think, if I can actually be optimistic for a change, that people will actually appreciate shit like that a little bit more when things go back to normal. But honestly, I don't know. I don't know that that's the case. I think, we'll see what happens. Hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, I ruin the positivity by being cynical about it immediately after I say it. So.
No. I mean, it's true though. It's we don't know. We don't know what's gonna happen. I want to start donating, some whatever, if I could buy merchandise, blah blah, from these places to kind of help out or whatever. I've been trying to order from local restaurants for food when we do order food or whatnot. So trying to do something, but at the same time, I don't know. It's a drop in the water, maybe. I have no idea.
It's tough. And one of the things I will say though is that if you are, I don't even know. Whatever. If you are ordering though, seriously, I used to work for Grubhub, so if you are ordering, I used to do sales for Grubhub. If you are ordering from local restaurants, try to order from them directly if you can. If they have the apparatus, if they have the delivery operation in place, simply because even though they're not charging the commission payments currently, or at least so they say. Typically on a delivery order through one of these third-party platforms actually costs the restaurant 30% of the subtotal of that order. Mm-hmm. So if you can give that 30% back to them by ordering directly through them, that's a nice positive. So
I didn't even know that.
Throwing that out there.
Oh, that's good info. That's good shit right there.
And seeing if it just
dude, and that's the other thing too. So it's weird how so musicians can perform, they can live stream, and that kind of works out. You can kind of do that and it still works, but comedians can't, because doing comedy live is, I mean, they have podcasts, but you can't really do stand-up. That's weird,
Exactly. Yeah, I've heard of like people like apparently are like going on like Instagram Live, and like they're not doing like a straight up stand-up set, but they're trying to engage in that more direct level, in that way. But yeah, there's no substitute for getting up in front of people and literally, trying out material. Thankfully, though, for comedy and comedians and stuff like that, the whole podcast scene has exploded over the last few years. So like they definitely do have that outlet and that revenue source.
Yeah.
Right?
And now people are listening now, I'm sure more than ever, because they have nothing else to do.
For sure. So. For sure. Yeah. But yeah, it's weird, man. It's weird. Yeah, I don't know. It's strange. It's strange. The whole situation is very weird. It's a bummer also. Like, see, so I want to take this a second to express that as negative or whatever as it may have been on Tame Impala a second ago. I was very much looking forward to seeing them in June, and I think that there's a very real chance that that won't happen. It's not obviously confirmed just yet, and we don't know how long we're going to kind of be social distancing and quarantining and all that stuff, but it's possible. I don't know. I think they were coming down here in like June or something like that. June actually might be when things are starting to open up again, optimistically, but who the fuck knows? It's gonna get like, I'm honestly, I'm very curious. Like throughout all this, I've just been so curious to see, like, it's such a complex problem, right? Like if you just look at this, like if you were in government, right, and you were to look at what's going on right now, it's a complex problem to solve, right? Because you have, I mean, just from a sort of macro level, you have like just two really complex things you're balancing, right? Like sort of just public health versus like economy sort of a thing, right? It's like that's like the biggest umbrella. And so yeah, like how do you bring it back? Like obviously, like you do the social distancing, the quarantining and all this stuff right now. For how long, And then we're going based off of numbers of testing, but do we have adequate testing? It's like so we're going off of data, right, that we're getting from tests. Is the data sufficient? Is it accurate? Like we don't know if the testing is good enough and gets to a high enough level. And then like as far as like once you start to open things up, like to what extent do you do so? Like can people sort of still like cross state lines? Like how do you open it up? Like then you go to the airline industry. How do you begin to ease things up as far as like international travel and people coming into the US? Like it's very multifaceted and it's very complex. And I'm just honestly like, aside from just the concern and just like kind of like what the fuck is going on, like I've also just been interested to see how the fuck they even approach solving this, because it's so complicated, and putting it all into practice across 50 states and all the counties and everything like that and cities is it's wild. It's wild. So I don't know.
Yeah. I think once it runs its course through society and things start to slow down, that'll be a good sign. And then obviously them coming up with some sort of vaccine. But I think the main point to take away is that this is our wake-up call to start, I guess, having some sort of preparations enacted when this happens again, because it's going to happen again. It's inevitable that it's going to happen again. So the only positive that I can see from this is that now we know that this is going to happen again. So for the next one that comes, we'll be more prepared. People won't panic as much, hopefully.
Right.
And yeah, well,
So let me ask you a question, right? So without politicizing it, I don't want to make it like right versus left or anything like that, because like honestly, like I genuinely don't give a fuck, like seriously. But as far as holy shit, I lost my train of thought. Oh wait, actually, no, got it back. Okay, cool. Nice. So as far as like, okay, so we know, right, that Trump has said like he wants to open the country back up by Easter. Like it's been out there. People are, commenting on it on both sides. A lot of people were like, this is fucking ridiculous, whatever, all this stuff. And then the people on the right are defending him. We get it. Whatever, fine. I want to kind of peel back those layers and just kind of get to a question of just as far as messaging to people, right? Do you think, what do you think is more helpful to people, like in a situation, like, and when I say people, I mean literally the entire population, of a country, is it better to lead with, facts and truth and stuff like that could potentially, scare people and honestly lead to erratic behavior that you don't want, right, in the streets and things like that? Or is it better to sort of kind of go with a message that can be construed as hopeful, as like, hey, we're trying to get it by this date or whatever? So I'm posing that question to you because I've kind of been debating this a little bit over here, and I'm just kind of curious to get your perspective. And honestly, it's not about politicizing it. I really could not give any less of a fuck. Like, I don't strongly identify with either party, all this shit, whatever. Just as far as like human nature is really what I'm interested in, the psychology of it, like how you think people receive messages. Because for me personally, I'll say that I like just having the truth and like knowing what it is, and I'll just buckle down, But I'm also, I don't know if I'm I'm the typical person. I don't know that. So just because it works for me doesn't mean that it would work for everyone en masse,
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I would agree and say the same thing. I mean, it would be, I feel like you would probably save more people's lives at the end of the day if you were to give an honest assessment of how this is going to play out. It's weird because I do feel, obviously there's people that think that what we're doing is kind of like over exaggerating or whatever. They're overdoing it, but to be honest, I feel like to nip it in the bud, something like quarantining people makes sense, especially when you don't know if you have it for what was it, 2 weeks or some shit. It's crazy.
Some people have it and they're asymptomatic as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
The other issue.
So for me personally, I feel like it'd be better to kind of like, to say the truth. And I don't know. I mean, the thing is if you don't do that, if you don't say the truth, if you kind of ease up and say like, oh, things will be okay, I feel like people might they might not take it as seriously, and then with that you'll just have more cases. You'll have people more deaths and stuff like that. People not taking care of themselves, and like
that's
a huge thing that I've heard people say this, but the honest truth is, for our friends and family that don't live super healthy lifestyles, as we drink, don't get me wrong, I'm not the healthiest person in the world, but I try, and
everyone's drinking right now. That's a fact.
Yeah, for sure. How could you not? But yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a good time to kind of take a look at yourself and kind of see what you can do to make sure that you're healthier, like, and I guess what I'm specifically speaking of is people claiming how the body shaming thing and all that stuff. I just feel like if you're unhappy and you don't feel good physically as a person, you should take the time to treat your body better and well, because ultimately you'll live a better life, And then there's obviously the extent of overdoing it, where someone can go be an addict, a workout addict or whatever, a health addict, and kind of it consumes their life. But
for sure,
I think there's a healthy balance where you can kind of I guess, I mean, think about Italy. The majority of people that seem, I mean, then I don't know for sure, but what it seems like is that the majority of people that are dying are people that have underlying health issues, and a lot of those people smoke as well. So, maybe stop smoking cigarettes. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, right. I know that they also have a higher than usual, I believe, elderly population, which I think weighs into it as well. But yeah, it's been insane. It's been insane what's going on over there. I was supposed to go with my girlfriend to Spain at the end of next month, and obviously, that's not happening. But it's crazy, and now Spain is second only to Italy as far as severity of cases over there. So it's pretty intense. It's pretty intense, but but yeah, to get back to the sort of like body shaming piece of it,
Uh-oh.
yeah,
You're breaking up.
I'm sorry.
You were breaking up a little bit there.
Oh, I was breaking up. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what I was saying was just as far as getting back to the body shaming piece of it, it's just a matter of, obviously, I don't think no one should be shamed for their body, but it's another thing when you swing so far the other way, when you like praise someone for being like, severely obese, and it's not even an appearance or an aesthetic or a sort of like taste thing or anything like that. It's just a matter of like health wise, like we know that that's unhealthy, and in a situation like this, we know that that's one of the risk factors with the coronavirus, obesity.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that Osterholm was saying up on the Rogan podcast, is that like we have a whole different set of risk factors over here than what you're looking at with China, because we have so much obesity here in the U.S. So obviously, like, it's less, no one should be shamed if they're overweight or anything like that. But obviously, like, we all know that, like, there's, you want to keep it within reason as far as your health. And that's all. And I think that that's a pretty reasonable stance. That's not to criticize anyone or anything like that. And I know some people might freak out over something like that, which is pretty ridiculous to me. But I think obviously, like, there's a healthy weight that everyone should try to maintain.
Yeah, for sure.
And it doesn't mean being shredded. I've never been shredded in my life. I've never been ripped. I hate going to the gym. So it's not even about that. It's just about health. and yeah. But yeah, it's crazy to see how things have developed. Like now today, like you're saying that more states are going to be, more states and cities are obviously, going to become hotspots, and things are growing, Times are tough over there in Michigan.
Yeah, man.
Cases are growing down here. But anyway, like, I don't want to make this the coronavirus podcast, but
everyone's podcast is about the coronavirus.
Exactly, that's true.
Nah, man, but the thing is fuck, man. Literally, as we're talking, as we're doing this because of what's going on. Like, I'm not gonna have people come over anymore and do the podcast. It's just, I don't think it's worth it to risk. I was gonna go to Orlando this weekend and see Jonathan and them, my brothers and siblings, and I was like, I probably shouldn't. I probably should stay. I shouldn't risk it. I don't want to get them sick. I don't want them to get me sick. Exactly. So I'm trying to.
No, go ahead.
I'm trying to treat myself like I have it already.
Right.
So as I drink, but.
But it's not even about that, right? Because the drinking doesn't put you at risk for the virus. It only puts. I mean, if you had a drinking problem, then you would be more at risk once you contracted the virus. But you're not giving yourself a greater chance of contracting the virus by drinking.
Yeah. No, I mean.
And first of all,
sure.
and I'll pivot for a second to say that even if you fucking do, fuck it, dude. We got to get through this shit. Okay. So
yeah,
like,
dude, fuck it.
We're all out here.
And I'll drink it. If I'm sick and I have it, I'll just keep drinking. Fuck it.
Okay, well,
I'll drink right through that bitch.
All right, well, hey. Okay?
That's what it is. I mean, what, do you want me to be sober while I'm sick?
I'm saying, hey, if I get the coronavirus, first thing I'm doing, okay?
I'm drinking a 6-pack to the face.
6-pack to the face, straight to the hospital.
Drinking and driving. Am I right?
It's all about balance, okay? 6-pack to the face, then you go to the hospital like a responsible citizen, okay? That's all it is.
Oh shit!
People don't get it.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna cut it here. But yeah, man, I wanted to say thank you very much for doing this, and I'll probably hit you up again to do it soon. To be honest, so
happy to do it anytime, man.
All right, my man.
Let me know.
Yeah. All right, brother. I love you, bro.
Take it easy.
And thank you, listeners. Don't make fun of me for saying that.
Yeah.
This fucking guy.
It was my.
But yeah.
Blame it on me. Blame it on me.
Yeah, bro.
Blame it.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop and I'm so.
Do it.